Welcome to this explainer. Today we're actually looking at a medical mystery that is quite literally hiding in plain sight. We completely rely on modern medicine to catch heart conditions early, right? But what if one of the most common and frankly most dangerous heart rhythm disorders is just slipping right past our standard detection methods? We're talking about atrial fibrillation, and today we're going to decode a fascinating new perspective that could completely change how we spot it.
To really understand the gravity of this, we need to look at the massive global scale of the problem. 60 million. Yep, atrial fibrillation, or AFib as it's commonly known, affects an estimated 60 million people worldwide. That is a staggering number. We're talking about a condition that impacts a huge chunk of the global population, carrying some really serious risks if it's left unmanaged.
But here's the truly concerning part. Despite those 60 million known cases, a really substantial proportion of people remain completely undiagnosed. It's a hidden threat that disproportionately affects our most vulnerable and elderly populations. Why? Well, because many of these patients have what we call paroxysmal or intermittent episodes. They might even be entirely asymptomatic. It's kind of like taking your car to the mechanic, but the engine only makes that weird sound when you're driving alone. They feel totally fine at the doctor's office, but that hidden danger, it's still there.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. The hidden heart threat. 2. The single ECG trap. 3. Introducing SHORA-AF signs. 4. Validating the new framework. And 5. The future of heart monitoring.
Section 1. The hidden heart threat.
So the sheer scale of those 60 million affected individuals, that's heavily compounded by the fact that AFib is just highly evasive. Because the episodes can be intermittent, coming and going totally without warning, and frequently asymptomatic, perfectly standard checkups often completely miss it. There's just no way around it. This is incredibly dangerous for the elderly who are already at a much higher risk for complications. It's a condition hiding perfectly in plain sight.
Section 2. The single ECG trap.
Now, for a long time, the conventional assessment for AFib has relied heavily on looking for RR interval irregularity. Essentially, doctors are checking if the timing between heartbeats is uneven. But here's the terrifying hidden reality. If a patient has low burden or intermittent AFib, their heart rhythm might look absolutely normal at the exact moment their doctor runs a single ECG. The doctor sees a quote-unquote no AF reading, the patient gets sent home, and everyone feels this totally false sense of security. The standard marker is absent, but the condition, it hasn't gone anywhere.
Section 3. Introducing SHORA-AF signs.
And this brilliantly illustrates our hero of the story, the SHORA-AF signs framework. This is a brand new complementary ECG perspective on atrial fibrillation that goes way beyond just looking at RR irregularity. This framework, which actually has the USPTO provisional patent pending right now, was presented at both the HRS CardiIQ and HRC Birmingham 2025 conferences. It proposes 2 distinct subtle signs, SS1 and SS2, that can be spotted on an everyday ECG.
Let's break down exactly what these signs actually are, starting with SS1, defined as beat-to-beat QRS voltage variability. Okay, let's translate that medical jargon. Think of the heart as a pump. During AFib, the heart is really struggling, and its chambers, the ventricles, are filling up irregularly. This irregular filling has major hemodynamic consequences, meaning it literally affects blood flow and pressure. On an ECG graph, this uneven pumping action shows up as variable QRS amplitude. Basically, the vertical height of those sharp peaks on the monitor will visibly vary from beat to beat.
Then we have SS2, which is an unstable, chaotic isoelectric baseline. If you look really closely at the background line of the ECG, the space between the actual heartbeats, during AFib, it isn't flat. It is jittery, it's chaotic, and it's highly unstable. It just looks messy. And the framework notes that this jittery baseline only smooths out and stabilizes after the successful restoration of a normal sinus rhythm, like after a cardioversion procedure. It's this subtle background clue that the heart's electrical system is just in a state of complete chaos.
Section 4. Validating the new framework. Of course, we need to look at the hard evidence. To prove these signs actually work, researchers tested this framework on a very robust clinical cohort of 400 patients. They needed to see if looking for SS1 and SS2 could reliably detect AFib when put to the ultimate test.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer strength of the performance data. It is absolutely incredible. In that clinical cohort of 400 patients, the framework achieved a 91% sensitivity with a highly significant p-value of less than 0.00001 alongside an 83.5% specificity. But wait, they didn't stop there. They also ran computational validation using the PhysioNet MIT BIH database, and the algorithm hit a whopping 94.1% sensitivity and an area under the curve of 0.92. These numbers strongly suggest we aren't just dealing with a theory here. This is a highly sensitive, seriously data-backed method for spotting hidden AFib.
Section 5. Future of heart monitoring.
Crucially, you've got to understand that the Shora AF signs are definitely not intended to replace conventional rhythm assessment. Doctors will absolutely still look for RR irregularity. Instead, they provide vital, complementary electrophysiological information. Think of SS1 and SS2 as your added safety net. If a doctor sees these signs, even if the primary rhythm looks totally fine for a moment, it identifies a high-risk patient who desperately needs extended monitoring, repeat ECGs, or an immediate specialist review. It's all about preventing these vulnerable folks from slipping through the cracks.
So what does this all mean for the real world? Step 1 is immediate. Clinicians, especially those treating vulnerable elderly populations, really must exercise extreme caution before definitively excluding AFib based on just one single ECG. They have to look deeper. Step 2 is the formal scientific progression, conducting prospective multi-center validation at scale. Basically, taking this incredible framework and testing it across multiple hospitals and way larger populations to firmly cement its place in our standard diagnostic protocols.
We've seen how easily this condition can hide, right? And we've seen how simply looking at voltage variability and baseline chaos can reveal what was completely invisible before. It leaves us with a vital, really provocative thought to walk away with. Could a complementary look at an everyday ECG uncover the hidden signs of atrial fibrillation in you or maybe your loved ones? Knowledge is power, folks, especially when it comes to the heart. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the right questions about your health.